right. NextGEN Medium, new vlog video for our new podcast video. And I got a new space. I'm actually standing up. I've got decent lighting. Maybe. I don't know. My hair. It's what it is. Okay. Today's video, I'm actually all prepared, ready to go, which is crazy. Today, this episode of NextGEN Medium is about grounding. No, not getting in trouble. It's too bad we associate grounding, the place where you are peaceful, to something terrible as a child. You're grounded. But, language. Okay, so I think we're just going to go ahead and get started. Funny story about this episode. I actually filmed it yesterday, and halfway through I realized my blog had not saved, and I went into a tailspin and started crying. No, I didn't cry, but I was visibly pretty upset about it. So I went back through things this morning, and we are back at it today. So, grounding. This is going to be my latest episode. In case you don't know, I'm just going to real quick here while the video is beginning. I have found my psychic medium intuitive abilities. I believe everybody has them. And my mission is to make people aware of it, that this is something you can do too. You know, those people on TV that do, talk with dead people and all that stuff. Yeah, I think everybody can do that kind of stuff that we deem as paranormal and impossible. Nope, because I've found it for myself in 33 years of not knowing it and then coming upon it and then expanding it and getting to know it. Now I'm talking about it and I'm bringing it to people, my experience and how I do what I do. And I want to help other people get there too. So not only do I want to make people aware, but I also want to bring you to that threshold of discovering it for yourself and then setting you free. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started on grounding. Very important in the process. So not liking the shadow across my eyes, but I'll have to fix that for next episode because Mama's got to get stuff done her. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our next episode of NextGEN Medium, the podcast. So this is the raw, unedited version. You get to hear the clean version on my podcast, which you can find at Apple Podcast, Spotify, Deezer. Where else do people go? They go just about everywhere. So anywhere there's podcasts, I'm probably there. All right, let's get started. You've heard a certain... Hold on. Okay. I thought I had a second lapse here of my blog not working out because I use my blog to write down what I'm going to say, and then my blog I present it. Or my podcast I present it. I think we're okay though. You've heard a certain word quite a lot. And I know I've heard this phrase and not understood what it meant. Maybe I thought I knew what it meant, but after some time of exploring and investigating and practicing my soul abilities, I get it now. In my quest to give you my experience for your growth, I've been thinking back on my material and wondering what's those super simple things that people read about, maybe have questions about, but I haven't expanded upon myself quite yet, that I haven't given my truth to yet. And that's when it struck me that grounding was where I needed to go next. It's such a simple word, and you can speculate on what exactly it means. You can have an idea of what it means, but if you haven't experienced what it feels like to be grounded or to ground or be grounding, if you don't use it regularly, you might not completely understand what grounding is, what it feels like for you to be grounded. I think of it a lot like a spiritual awakening in that you don't know what it is until you've gone through it, have had time to reflect on your experience, kind of dissect it, and then understand what exactly it was, or it is, or what happens. So, to someone who hasn't experienced or practiced it, it's hard to explain what grounding actually means because it really is a place, it's a mindset. But I'm going to do what I can to explain it to you. And one reason that I want to impart this on you is because I want you to understand that finding that place of grounding is a process. It's not something you do and then you know how to do it. It takes time to develop the familiarity of that place in your mind. And also, this step within itself is a part of the process of using your soul abilities. And so understanding what grounding is kind of the first step of opening up and then using your soul abilities and your soul senses. So for me, understanding what grounding was not an instantaneous understanding. Like I said, it took me time. It took evolution. I had to become familiar with this place and what grounding actually meant. So I can give you lots of logic in this discussion, but it's not until you experience it that you will actually be able to identify with the intricacies, the simplicity of the word grounding. So once you do experience it, you become familiar with it, it becomes a seamless, unconscious effort. But for now, we got to get you started on tackling this simple word but common hurdle to develop your soul abilities. And that's this episode on NextGEN Medium, the podcast. It's like I know what I'm doing. 40 episodes in, I should probably know what I'm doing. This is where I'm going to introduce myself. I already did this for you, but I got to do it again. Hey, Sarah Nickerson. I gotta say my name better. Hey, Sarah Nickerson here. I'm the host of NextGEN Medium, the podcast, and I've discovered my psychic intuitive mediumship abilities a few years ago. And it's led me on a mission to make other people aware that you might have these taps on your shoulder of your abilities throughout your lifetime, but not understand the full extent of what is actually there, which is what I came across a couple years ago. And after experiencing what I've experienced, really investigating and looking into what it is that I can actually do, it just astounds me that this isn't something that everybody knows about. And so now I'm on a mission to make people aware that this door is open for you too. Also, I want to help you with what I can in my experience to impart upon you my experiences, maybe to resonate with your story, to make you feel like, wait a second, I understand what she's talking about. Maybe I'm further along in the process than I thought I was. And you have a hand to hold during your process of uncovering your psychic intuitive mediumship abilities. Maybe you have healing. I haven't gotten there quite yet. But if you got all those three things, then you probably have healing too. And maybe there's more soul abilities that I really haven't investigated yet, but I've been so enamored in trying to understand just the scope of what I possess that I just couldn't wait. I'm not going to wait 20 years to fully, feel like I'm know all the things, because honestly, your journey is going to bring you your truth. So that's where I'm at. And you are invited along for the ride. Okay, so today, this episode is all about grounding. It's a simple word, and I think a lot of people can understand that grounding is a place to get yourself centered. There's another word that people use in this soul world, but it's a simple act. And sometimes it feels so simple. It almost feels like you need to complicate it because it seems so simple. But I just wanted to touch upon grounding because it is one of those core processes that need to be established in order to really understand the messaging that's coming through when you open up with your soul senses or your psychic senses. So that would be your clairvoyance, your claircognizance, blah, blah, blah. These are those mental senses that some of them take on the characteristics of your physical senses, like your sense of touch or your sight or your smell or your hearing. But these are sort of internalized sensing that comes from invisible information. It's pretty astounding, but grounding, that's what we're talking about. So what does grounding, what does that actually mean? Grounding is the act of allowing yourself to block outside stimulus. It gets you ready for receiving messaging from your soul senses. Like I said, your clairvoyance, your clairaudience, your claircognizance, etc. There's so many of them. And to utilize your soul abilities, your psychic ability, your intuitive ability, your mediumship, or your healing. The act of setting your state of mind to grounding allows you to switch gears from a previous task, accumulated energy, get ready to receive messaging. So if you are on a journey to understand your soul abilities, to understand how to tap into them, be able to rely on their messaging, grounding is the first step in the process that you must practice and become familiar with. The funny thing about this act is that you are setting up to be passive, to be observant. It puts you in a specific state of mind. And it is this place of mind where you are focused, but aware of the space far away from you, close to you, inside of you, maybe in your mind or your body. And when I think about grounding, as I understand it, I liken it to the state of nothingness that Buddhist monks look to achieve. The place of Zen, taking in the moment, just being in the moment, living in the moment. So for our purposes of grounding, we're looking to simply clear thoughts from the active mind, settle the energy, to clear the slate of stimuli in order to receive messaging. How's that sound? Does that sound all right? Did I do okay there? Again, words, there's only so many ways that I can help connect you with an idea when it comes to the words that I have to say. But grounding really is a feeling. And I don't know how to describe that to you other than how I just said that. You're welcome. So, grounding sets the stage to observe your soul senses and utilize your soul abilities. And I also think, this is part of a process. And when we practice many rituals and routines throughout our everyday routines to prepare us for our next act, such as getting ready to take a shower or getting ready to go to work, getting ready to go to bed. These are acts that prepare us for our next action that requires awareness of what to prepare for, planning on what's needed to execute these acts, these particular acts, the ones we're talking about. These have become routine for us after a while. And maybe it's hard for us to dissect the process needed to get ready, like how I've outlined it. But in how we prepare for our next act, for doing things with our physical body, of going somewhere, into the shower, into bed, whatever, we also prepare to connect and experience our soul work with grounding. It's the place we go to prepare. All right? And it's in our brain. It's in our brain, man. Now, you might actually practice grounding prior to starting a new task already, maybe without even knowing you do that. So in grounding, you are present. You're taking in what is around you. You are in the moment, but often, as the good human machines that we are, our next step is to start planning in our minds. So there we go with our brains in the future and executing with our mind and body. So then we're distracted by what we're doing with our body and how we're planning, and then our focus is taken away from that present moment. Okay. So recognize that in your everyday activities, those routine things, getting ready to take a shower, what is your routine and where are your moments of being present? It's hard. Maybe it's even just standing in the shower. I hear a lot of people come up with ideas in the shower. And all I can think is like they're sitting there and the warm water is rolling over your shoulders and you're just feeling it. You know what I mean? And that is being present. That is being in the moment. That is getting a sense of groundedness because you're just taking in what's around you and maybe being passive with your thoughts. And maybe you're, I don't like standing. maybe you are opening up during that time and taking in messaging. And that's what those ideas are. Being inspired by what's coming in. And then you're like, oh, I got an idea. I know I'm going to fix that. I know I'm going to deal with that situation. But anyway, becoming grounded is setting your focus to become aware of the information that comes through your psychic senses. Once you achieve groundedness, you start dissecting internal influences and external influences. So the internal influences would be like your intuition, right? And connecting with your higher self. External influences would be stuff that's coming in, that's information in your space, your physical space beyond you. And it could be from a person, it could be from a cat, it could be from a plant. If it's got energy, it's got a message for you. Where was I? Yeah. Once you achieve groundedness, you start dissecting internal influences and external influences. That is how you build your experience with taking in messaging from your soul and psychic or mental senses and become familiar with your soul abilities, your psychic, intuitive, mediumship healing. Grounding sets the stage. It sets the mood. It sets your focus to open up and receive. What is happening when you are grounding? You are surrendering the active mind. You are allowing the mind to be passive and observant. This takes shutting out outside stimulus and keeping your awareness just to the space in and around you. There's no thoughts really going through your mind. This is a place of no judgment. This is a place of no worry. And depending on how familiar you are with this quiet state of mind, or even where your mood or energy level is when attempting to capture this state of mind to become grounded, it can be an instantaneous transition. Boom, you're there. Or it could take several minutes. And that's for anybody, whether you've been doing it for a long time or not. Getting to this space of shutting off can be as easy as just taking a breath, closing your eyes, and putting focus above and beyond you. That easy. Quite often, people will point you to meditation as a way to develop your soul abilities and to get into connection with your soul senses. Now, that's because meditation is a widely known act. People know what meditation is. And driving people to meditation is a way of finding that common practice that people are aware of, and it helps get you to that place of grounding. It quiets the mind. It gets you focused. It gets you focused on what's being experienced. So this place sets you up to receiving messaging. It's a clean slate to work off of. So I've come across a lot of people who have difficulties with meditation. And I had to think about this for a little bit. Why is grounding hard for us to do? And I just spoke with a a psychic medium intuitive out of New York City. Emily Grote, I think is her name. I didn't quite get her last name, but we were talking about the norms of our society and how they work against our work, in that there's a lot of things we develop how to function in this society that goes against the stuff that we do when we want to connect with our soul stuff, whether it's listening to your intuition or getting a message from great Aunt Ida. And so the act of grounding, more specifically, works against what we've been nurtured to do in our society. So we've been conditioned to keep trying and to not take a step back and give it a minute. And that can go for a lot of things. In fact, this list that I've come up with could go for a lot of things, can be interpreted in different ways. We've been conditioned to make every minute productive, but not take time to be sustainable. We've been conditioned to think ahead and be happy when the task is done, not be present and enjoy the moment. We've been conditioned to put up with symptoms, but not understand the problem. So getting grounded is essential to our mental health, to neutralize our energy. But our society does not value a mind and body that seems unproductive. And in actuality, a place of groundedness where you're being quiet and you're stilling the mind allows for one to be refreshed and to continue being productive, whereas continuing without grounding can cause burnout. So there is a place for grounding beyond what we're talking about. But what we're doing, society doesn't see as a thing. So there's no value in it. Okay. But being grounded does not seem to be productive other than for the emotion and mind, which our society does not want to face its importance anyway. Mental health crisis. We are in crisis with our mental health. Is there really anything being done about it? No, nothing's really being done about it because there's so much stigma behind mental health and understanding it. Science is having a hard time getting to a place of understanding with the mind. And so we're kind of at this place. Where we got to do something about it, but nobody really knows what to do. But I digress. What is also not understood or valued as that grounding that gets you to a place of your intuition and gets you to work with your soul senses, soul abilities. Society deems this as bogus. It's not real. And so there's no value in it because it's not real. Science is having a hard time proving it. Honestly, nobody's really researching it. So how can you say it has no value if nobody's researching it? Even though the government has been using this kind of stuff to spy on Russians, but I digress. So we're in a society that doesn't value a lot of things that are individual and that seem paranormal. Logically, I can kind of understand it, but at the same time, having gone through what I've gone through, it blows my mind, the things that I've come across in this new part of my soul journey and how it could alleviate so many problems in our society right now, including mental stuff. So even though society has deemed that grounding and getting in touch with your intuition, understanding your soul abilities, your soul senses, that society deems this as bogus, it's fake, it has no value. You and I know different. And so we understand the value of the act of grounding because we know what can be gained after we become grounded. And that's tapping into the soul abilities and using the soul senses. And being able to tap into these abilities opens up a knowing of the self that society could never understand, but what you know to be true. That's a nice way of saying it. I have a deep belief that if everybody could get in touch with their intuition, with their soul self, I hate saying in touch because even that sounds ridiculous, but if people knew themselves the way that I've grown to know myself, I think people would feel more self-assured, self-confident. I would think that our society would have better prioritization, more compassion and kindness, and not a lot of other things that we're seeing right now. Lots of extremes, lots of extremes. Here we go. Sarah's on diatribe mode. Lots of extremes because people just, they feel out of control. And I feel pretty in control because I'm able to work off of what's given to me. And I feel like I'm doing okay. I feel like I'm doing pretty good, actually. And I wish other people could feel like this too. But anyway, who's going to make money off of that? Okay, let me finish up this section here. Also, the place of groundedness may not be familiar for some. And on top of that, finding that place of groundedness may not be familiar for some time once you start actively practicing it. In fact, don't expect to know where it is the first time you try. Hold on. Okay, I'm in the right section. I got confused. Don't expect it the first time you try, just because you need to visit this state of mind several times to build your sense of what being grounded feels like in order to identify that you've been there. There's no instructions. It really is having you experiment a little bit. So this within itself can be difficult for people because it needs effort to build your familiarity. It needs patience. It needs some time. And some people just don't have the patience, time, or want to put in the effort. Don't be one of those people. You will get there. You just need patience. You need to gain your experiences, and that goes across the plane with this whole soul journey stuff. Nothing. Well, I shouldn't say nothing. The gain takes time. It takes a little bit of time. Depending on who you are, where you are in your journey, can take a longer time than others. Just be patient, hang in there. You got this. So, let's say you're sitting in your place and you got your eyes closed and you're going, am I there yet? How do you know if you are grounded? Becoming grounded takes time to develop what it feels like for you. To give you a few clues of being in the state of nothingness, I would say being in a state of grounding might feel boring, but peaceful. You notice sounds, thoughts, feelings, emotional or physical, that you might not have noticed before. Being in this state for an extended amount of time actually has led me to fall asleep many times. And then I wake up and I'm going, oh no, I've failed. No, maybe I was just a little tired. If you're sitting in it, you might think, am I here? That was too easy. Or shouldn't this be more complicated? Okay, first of all, asking questions. This gives me a clue that you are a bit of an overthinker. I feel you. I'm one of those too. And that, yes, it is that easy. Dumb easy is the phrase that I would call it. Don't overcomplicate it. In fact, I feel like I'm talking too much about something that's pretty simple, but the more words I say, maybe the higher chance of resonating with many different kinds of people. I don't know. And one more thing that could be something to notice, to know that you've been in that place of groundedness, is that you will lose track of the pace of time. So you may feel like you sat getting grounded for 15 minutes, when in actuality, it was 45 minutes. So it felt like a shorter amount of time, but the clock says I was sitting there for 45 minutes. Or you sat for a half hour, or you felt like you sat for a half hour, but it was actually only 10 or 15 minutes. It's a peaceful place to get lost in, and time exists differently in this grounded state. And that could very well be your indicator that you yourself was in that grounded place that you're looking for. There. The last section here for the podcast for this particular episode, tips for getting grounded. Now, okay, so this tip isn't being in groundedness. This step is to prepare you to start developing being in that place of groundedness. And I think what can get you there a little bit quicker for all of us impatient human beings is to start building routine or ritual of getting in your grounded state. So it's not actually getting you to the state of groundedness. It's becoming familiar with that place of groundedness. And I think routine is a way to start building familiarity so that once you're sitting in your place and quieting your minds, that's when your brain can start getting familiar with the place. So your body, your mind need to get familiar with your space and your routine. And then once you start doing it, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 times, you start becoming familiar with the state of mind. Some people get ritualistic when, where, and how they ground. A certain time of day, maybe building a routine of when in the day you do it. Maybe you do it multiple times a day, if that makes you feel good. Doing a particular action, like lighting a candle, maybe holding a crystal or having a particular object present. Okay. So building a sense of routine will allow your mind to take in the novelty things you experience to start building on what your normalcy is for being in your grounded state. It's sort of a trigger. What's that movie? You know that movie. You know I'm going to talk about a certain movie. What's the movie? Inception. So in the movie Inception, I don't know if this is even going to work, but I'm going to try. In the movie Inception, the main characters will have an object that they take with them when they're going in these weird places. I don't even know enough about this movie to explain the plot of the movie, but to know that they are dreaming. No, I'm not going to go there. Anyway, they have an object. I'll do this for you. They have an object, and when they use the object in their reality, which could be fake or it could be real, how the object moves is an indicator to them if they are in reality or if they're in a fake reality. Real reality, fake reality. But that doesn't make any sense for what I'm talking about. See, you don't get this in the podcast. But anyway, so having that object of familiarity with you, it builds a sense of routine. And once you kind of physically have this trigger thing with you, then you can start really getting that routine in your brain as part of developing the normalcy. So this step is to prepare you for the next step of opening up and experiencing the soul senses and receiving messaging. Being in a state of a blank slate will ensure that your messaging is uncolored, fully experienced. I'm not saying that your messaging is without color. I'm saying that it's true to the truth of the message, what was intended of the message. Fully experienced in order to interpret accurately. It will ensure the good work of using your soul abilities with your soul senses. All right, there you go. Deep dive into groundedness. What does it mean? What's it all about? Why is it so hard? It's really not hard. I feel like I've talked way too much about something that's in my practice. I visit instantaneously, and then I'm on to my retrieving soul messaging. So in my everyday practice, not using grounding a lot, but I'm getting to a point where I got to start using grounding because of my own personal need for grounding. Grounding actually helped me get out of some crazy anxiety I was going through after my spiritual awakening. And I felt like I wanted to crawl out of my skin. And so grounding helped me be able to live in my skin after my spiritual awakening. Okay, there you go. Setting things up for the next episode, which I kind of gave you a little hint of in that last part there. But yeah, that does it for this episode of NextGEN Medium, the podcast. Hey, are you on a soul journey and want a little bit of help? I can help you with that. Go to my website, nextgenmedium.com, and sign up for a consult. You can pick the time, you can pick the dates, and we'll go from there. What is a development session? We'll take 45 minutes. I'll get to chat with you over video chat and whatever you want to talk about spiritually speaking. You got questions? I want to help answer your questions. Maybe you want some validation. Validation just unleashes people. I've seen it. And I can't believe the amount of people I've come across and I've been like, yeah, you have psychic abilities. You are empathic, and people are just like, I've been waiting for someone to say that to me. And it's almost like permission for them to go forward with their stuff. If you need an assessment, I can help you with that. Just sign up for a development session. Sometimes people just want someone to talk to. I can do that too. You could also sign up for a development session / intuitive psychic mediumship reading. We could do that too. Check out the blog, vlog, and other podcasts at nextgenmedium.com. Add your name to get emails about upcoming NextGen Medium stuff, educational stuff, contests for free readings, and a lot more. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Pinterest for all your social media liking needs. And until next time, have a pleasant rest of your day. To all of you listening in Rancho Cucamonga, California, I hope I said that right, Prairie Village, Kansas, and Dublin, Ireland, be safe, and I'll chat with you later. See ya. Bye. Whew. That went much better than it did yesterday. Yesterday, I spent like 3 hours trying to troubleshoot my equipment. There was a microphone issue, and then it turned out it was because of another program that I closed out of. Ugh, it was a big cluster F. And let's see what else happened. Oh yeah, half my blog disappeared while I was doing my thing, while I was recording, and I was like, what? I'll have to make a bloopers video because I look back on it now, it's hilarious, but at the time it was devastating. Everybody wants to see that, so I gotta put that up at some point, but I'll collect a bunch and then you can make fun of me like I make fun of myself. All right, if you like this, go ahead and smash that like button. Smash it. I hate that I say that. Smash that like button. Check out the links in the description for the podcast, the blog, social media, and the website. You can donate to keep the podcast going, to keep the website going at nextgenmedium.com. And hey, you could book an appointment too. Yeah. If you want a reading, if you want to do some developments, I got both of those options for you at nextgenmedium.com. All right, guys. Hey, that was not so painful this time. Yesterday was like, I'm surprised I didn't cry. I kept it together. I did. All right, guys. That's it until next week. And I'll chat with you later. Bye-bye.